All right, let's talk about the rules of the game for Texas real estate. Because when it comes to buying or selling a home, you really need to know the rulebook that's supposed to keep everything fair and square for everyone involved. So let's just dive right in.
And, this is exactly why it all matters so much. We're not just talking about some simple purchase. For most people, this is everything. Their life savings, their future, the place they're going to raise their family. The stakes are just incredibly high, which means that trust isn't just a nice to have, it is absolutely non-negotiable.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into why these ethics are so critical by looking at an agent's core duties. Then, we'll move on to the specific rules that protect you, the consumer. And finally, we'll talk about who's actually in charge of enforcing all of this.
Okay, first up, the agent's core duties. You can think of this as the personal playbook that every single real estate license holder in Texas has to live and breathe. These are officially known as the canons of professional ethics.
The first, and honestly the most important duty, is something called fidelity. This means an agent is a fiduciary. Now that's a legal term, but what it boils down to is that they have a legal and ethical duty to act in your best interest. It's a relationship that is totally built on trust and loyalty.
And get this, the official rulebook puts it, well, pretty bluntly. It says no personal interest can be placed above the client's. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, it's a hard and fast rule. The agent's potential commission, their schedule, their convenience, none of that can come before what's best for you. The big takeaway here is it has to be all about you, period.
Next up is integrity. This one sounds pretty straightforward, right? Be honest, but it's actually deeper than just not telling a lie. See the phrase acts of commission? That means not saying something that's false. But acts of omission is just as critical. That means not leaving out important information that could mislead someone. It's really about total, honest-to-goodness transparency.
And that brings us to the third core duty, competency. It's not enough for an agent to be honest and loyal. They also have to actually be good at their job. This means they are professionally obligated to be knowledgeable and skilled in their field.
So what does competency actually look like in the real world? Well, the rules get really specific. An agent has to be on top of the big picture, stuff like national and state trends, but also be an expert on the nitty-gritty of your local market conditions. And they have to know the specific type of property you're dealing with, whether it's a condo or a farm. Basically, they need the knowledge and the skilled judgment to navigate your deal the right way.
Okay, so that's the agent's personal code of conduct. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the rules of the game that are specifically designed to protect the public. In other words, to protect you. This is a big one. You have a fundamental right to be informed. The state of Texas actually requires that you know who regulates real estate agents and exactly how you can file a complaint if you need to. And to make sure that happens, they created what's called the Consumer Protection Notice. And they are very, very specific about where you should be able to find this. It has to be displayed somewhere obvious in their office, linked directly from the homepage of their business website, and even be accessible from their social media. The whole point is to make this crucial information pretty much impossible for you to miss. Now for a rule that is an absolute, non-negotiable cornerstone of fair play. There is zero tolerance for discrimination in real estate. This isn't just an ethical guideline, it's the law. And the rules are crystal clear about what this means. An agent is flat out forbidden from making any decisions, answering questions, or even dropping hints related to any of these protected classes. The goal is simple and it's non-negotiable: to make sure everyone has a fair and equal shot at finding a home.
So that brings up a really important question. I mean, it's great to have all these rules, but what happens when someone breaks them? Who's holding the whistle? Who are the official referees making sure everybody is playing by the book?
Well, that brings us to our final section, the official referees. In Texas real estate, there are two main groups that handle the oversight and enforcement, and it's really important to know the difference between them. First up, you've got the Texas Real Estate Commission, or TREC for short. And you gotta know, this is the big one. TREC is an official state government agency, and they regulate every single person who holds a real estate license in Texas. Their whole mission is protecting the public. When a complaint gets filed with TREC, it kicks off a serious, formal process. They don't just shuffle papers, they investigate the claims, they gather evidence, and they might even hold a formal hearing. And if they find a violation, the consequences are real. They can range from big fines all the way to revoking an agent's license to practice real estate permanently. Then on the other hand, you have the National Association of Realtors, or NAR. Now this is a private trade association. Agents who choose to join NAR are called realtors, and by joining, they voluntarily agree to follow an even stricter code of ethics. Not every agent is a realtor, but the ones who are, they're holding themselves to this higher standard.
So here's probably the easiest way to think about it. TREC is the official state referee. They have authority over every single player on the field, and they have the legal power to take someone out of the game entirely by revoking their state license. NAR, on the other hand, is more like the professional league. It's for members who choose to join. They have their own set of higher rules, and their ultimate penalty is kicking a member out of their association.
So when you boil it all down, what's the bottom line? It's that every single rule we've talked about, from fidelity to fair housing, and both of those referees, TREC and NAR, they all exist for one big reason: to be the bedrock of trust that allows these huge, life-changing transactions to happen fairly and smoothly.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you know all this, the next time you work with a real estate agent, what's one specific sign of integrity or competency you're going to be on the lookout for? It's definitely something worth considering. Thanks so much for tuning in.